what usually happens in a lot of these firms is that once they go beyond the two production people or the one production, one administrative person, the rate of return on their new income goes down. I've heard people get to, 5, 6 staff, and they're making the exact same money when they were basically at 2 staff. And that doesn't make any sense, right?
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer. In this episode, I'll be discussing a lot of exciting things happening within the Successful Bookkeeper community with a very good friend that some of you may already know, Louie Prosperi. Welcome back to the show.
Well, Michael, it's great to be back. It's also great to be with you again. I really enjoyed our talks in the past, and I think I'm looking forward to this one because there's a lot of interesting things that we will be covering today.
Absolutely, and it's great to have you back. And there's been lots going on. But for those, Louie, that don't already know who you are, or maybe have listened to some of your past appearances on our podcast, tell us a little bit about you and your career leading up to this point in the accounting and bookkeeping industries.
Well, Michael, I'll try to make this not too boring and not.
I'll just go to sleep here while you continue on. Yes,
that's great. Just don't snore while I'm talking, so that people think you're listening.
I'll go on mute.
All right, fair enough. Well, basically, my whole career has been in accounting, but the focus has always been on what I would call business strategy or business model development. That's been my niche when I look back. And in the last, I would say, since I left, it's called CPB and then ICB, the two, what I would call certification bodies, one in Canada and one global. I've been basically mentoring and helping organizations like bookkeeping, accounting, and other professional firms, helping them build the right business models and looking at the whole model as a whole. The interesting thing when it comes to business models is that if you focus on the arm is connected to the whole body. And what I do is I look at the whole body and make sure it works effectively and properly. So the last 4 or 5 years is where I've been spending a lot of my time in developing techniques and methods to allow people to build the right business model for what they want. I hope that's the best way I can describe it without going into another 2-hour discussion.
Absolutely. No, I think a lot of that will be coming out in what we're calling the Spotlight episodes, which I want to congratulate you on being the new Thursday host of our Spotlight episodes. So the Successful Bookkeeper airs every Tuesday, and now we have occasionally a special episodes that we'll be running that you'll be hosting. Tell us a little bit about what they can look forward to, our listener can look forward to in these spotlights.
Well, first of all, Michael, I want to thank you and your team and the Successful Bookkeeper for allowing me to be the host, and hopefully I do it justice because I know I'm taking over from you, and I'm looking forward to just contributing to the whole episode and the whole program. With regards to Spotlight episodes, I'm really excited about those, Michael, because they're focused on either products or services or things that will help the professional bookkeeper or firm do better or find things that they can use and be more effective. And also, too, which is really cool, is we are also looking at cutting edge stuff, things that are coming up in the future. So things that you might want to know about, things you might have to prepare for, things that might be beneficial to you, because our industry, particularly in this world and the way technology is changing rapidly, is constantly changing. And how we produce and do our services, how we price, how we interact with our customers is no longer a static system. It doesn't move slowly anymore. It moves at a rapid pace. And I know this is a long entrance to what I was going to say, and the reason why I'm saying that is because my first 3-part series with the Spotlight episode is talking to Ron Baker and Ed Kless. And what's interesting about this topic, it's basically called subscription modeling for the professional accounting and bookkeeping firm. And that's a brand new concept. I know subscription modeling is not brand new. You've seen it in Netflix and you've seen it in all sorts of different things. But it is rare and new in our industry, and how to deal with it and how to actually build it in. Michael, what's interesting about that is the fact that the business model is actually better catered to how we actually do our services.
It's that time of year again, and after a great showing in 2021, the Successful Bookkeeper Summit returns even bigger and better. It's a 2-day virtual conference that features incredible speakers from the bookkeeping, accounting, and business worlds, such as value pricing expert Ron Baker and Joe Woodard of the Woodard Group. And that's just to name a few. The theme of this year's event is Make It Grow. And there's no doubt the content you'll consume will help you achieve more success than you ever thought possible. It all begins on November 9th, 2022. To secure your free spot, visit thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/summit. And again, that's thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/summit. Register today, and I'll see you at the summit. And now, let's get back to our interview. It's pretty exciting. I mean, I know it's going to be a disruptor in the industry, and many are going to be really confused, and I'm sure a lot of people will have trouble making the mental leap to it, just like they did with value pricing conversation a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when it first came out, I was like, oh, how can we do that? But the reality is that it is popping up in all sorts of places that you wouldn't have expected it to pop up. And I'm really excited for our listener to get those episodes where they can start to hear why it's so well positioned for our industry.
Yeah, they were really good episodes, if I say so myself. Ron's got a unique way of explaining things. I've always found him a great communicator, and when it comes to cutting edge or leading the pack, he's done a good thing. He's also launching a new book, Time's Up. And that's coming out, I think, around in November, close to our summit. So that's going to be interesting. And also, Ron's going to be speaking at our summit on these topics. So it's all good.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm excited about Ron and Ed Kless's Spotlight episodes coming up. But as well, we're going to have a lot of content that's going to be coming. I think we're up to 30 or 40 speakers lined up for the summit in November.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and Ron Baker will be doing a deep dive into subscription pricing and likely sharing a lot from his book, Time's Up. And Louie, you're going to be speaking there. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking you're going to be presenting this year.
Yes, this is something that's come up over and over again in my consulting or mentoring practice. Two things that seem to be big issues, and I'll try to break it down as quickly as I can. The first one is business modeling for a practice. When a lot of firms or a lot of professionals, they usually start off, Michael, as an independent contractor, right? They go in and they bring in clients or customers, and they get to a certain size. And once they get to a certain size, they start hiring staff, right? Usually it's an admin person and a production person. But that original business model that they start off with is I call a sole proprietor or one partner practice, right? And that model maxes out at about 2 staff, maybe 3. Once you want to expand beyond that, that model starts to fail you. And what I was thinking of doing is going into how that fails you and how you have to shift the business model so that you can continue to expand and build capacity and continue to grow. What usually happens in a lot of these firms is that once they go beyond the 2 production people or the 1 production, 1 administrative person, their rate of return on their new income goes down. I've heard people get to 5, 6 staff, and they're making the exact same money when they were basically at 2 staff, and that doesn't make any sense, right? So that's one. And the other one, which is interesting, which I'd like to discuss, is what I call skill assessment program or process. What usually happens when we start our business, we hire people, right? And we hire people for the services that we are doing today. And that usually goes well. We match those services. But small firms, what happens with small firms is particularly if they don't have a high turnover, and they don't, let's be honest, right? I mean, the whole goal of a small firm is to keep the same staff for 20 years if they can. They love that idea. Unfortunately, it's not the right idea. But the problem with that is when you get to 4 or 5 staff members, what happens is rather than you having the right skill assessment for the services you want to provide, you end up providing the services that your staff can provide. Meaning that if you have a year-end or notice to reader and tax return skill set and you want to start going to CFO work, it'll never happen because you try to do the services, but you don't have the skill set in place and you haven't planned or programmed it in. If you're a bookkeeping firm and you're basically doing data entry and bank reconciliations, and now you want to do business management or compliance, or you want to go into certain other components, unless you have the skill set and you're the only one doing it, it doesn't go anywhere. You end up falling back because the quality of the work dissipates. So those are the 2 topics. I haven't named them yet, Michael, but those are the 2 areas that I think resonate with a lot of organizations out there.
I love it. That's why I love the summit. It's why I think the summit last year was so well received. I was blown away. I mean, it was our first year last year. We put together a really great lineup. We didn't know how it was going to go. It could have been a total dud, or it was going to be really, really something special. And I'm so grateful that it turned out to be fantastic and everything worked as planned. But what people told us is that it gave them this focused day where they could come and think differently, listen to and start to think differently about their business. And I mean, you're already starting to unpack a little bit of that for our listener right now, which is how are they thinking about their business? And that's one of probably 40 speakers at the summit.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited. But Louie, you were running events with what's now called the CPB, the Canadian Professional Bookkeeper of Canada, which used to be called the Institute of Professional Bookkeepers. But you ran really successful events there for years. Tell us a little bit about why you think these types of venues, whether it be in person or virtual, can really help our listener in their business.
That's an interesting question. So I'm going to focus on the digital world because, to be quite honest, COVID allowed us to literally transform this medium. Because prior to COVID, the majority of the events were in person, brick and mortar, right? And then we had to go into digital. And what I like about the digital ones is because we've had to go into digital, the digital conferences and events have become a lot more sophisticated. And they become exactly what you've said, where people have the comfort to do it in their own home. What I really like about your event or the Successful Bookkeeper Summit event is 2 things. One is that not only is it a 2-day event, but it has a couple of components that I like, is that the events are pre-recorded. So that allows people like myself or anybody else or speakers to get the right speakers without having to worry about conflict, right? If you wanted to bring certain types of people on your event and there was a conflict, you might have to substitute and get someone else. We don't have to do that at our event. Basically, we get the best and we get the right ones, and they're able to pre-record the content for our audience, and they get it there at the right time. So I really love that part of it. The second part that I like and I'm not sure if this was discussed before, is the recording component, where when you do a live event, you have to be very good at taking notes after the parties and all that fun stuff, right? At the live events, which is good. Don't get me wrong. The socializing at live events are fantastic. But with this one, is the ones that you really, really wanted to work on, you get access to the recordings so that you get a reference point after the fact. That you don't get at the brick and mortars. And what the Successful Bookkeeper Summit has done is made sure that's available to anybody who wants it. And the third part that I really like about the community that we're building is the fact that a lot of this information knowledge doesn't disappear, right? It then goes on a learning platform. So I know I just talked about your event, Michael, but I really like your event. So
thank you. Well,
I'm just letting you know all the things that I really think are unique with yours, and you're constantly innovating. I know the great thing I have is access to you and to your team, and you keep telling me these new things that you're going to be putting into this year's summit compared to last year's summit. So that's another amazing point. So
thank you. It's always great to hear these things, and we work really hard and are trying to put on something unique and special for our community. And the other piece that I would say that I thought was really surprising was how much the virtual chat that was happening last year, it was just on fire all day long, like no end, which was really cool. So it's like pre-recorded content, but then this massive community. I mean, we had 1,600 registrations into the summit, and each day there was just conversations and people making comments, and people were glued to the feed in the conversation of the event because of, it's just like really cool. So that was last year, and then now this year we're working on to just amplify that a bit so that our community can start to, there's people there that think like you. They have things in common with you. It's like, how do we facilitate the content of the events, the learning that we have available, webinars and all sorts of great things, and how do we then connect all of that together with community, and all on the same platform? So we're not there yet, but that's this year's target, is to make that happen for the organization. So pretty
Michael,
exciting. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to add the digital events are complementary to the brick and mortar, because you actually hit it right on the head. When we do the digital ones, people focus very intently because they're in front of a screen. They listen intently and they pick and choose what they want, and also they can then engage in discussions with like-minded people in an environment that's not as threatening, right? Because when you go in a brick and mortar thing and you don't know people, it's harder to start a conversation. But when you're in a chat room, we're all used to those now, and we seem to be freer and able to exchange ideas. So I think that's great. The part about the brick and mortar, which still needs to be there and is very important, is the socializing aspect, the networking, the face-to-face interactions, all of that fun stuff that we have after, So I really like the fact that now people are doing both,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
And that's the great thing that I think we're doing. And what I like about you guys is you're staying in your lane, right? You're focusing on digital, and you're just going to make that the best experience possible. And niche markets is one of my things that I always say. And Ron, any expert that says that if you want to develop a market, go into a niche market, know your audience, right? So
that's right. Yeah,
good.
we're really trying to figure out the digital events and innovate there to make it really cool and really effective for our community. So pretty exciting. So that's a summit, and of course, listener, please register. It's free. If you want to treat yourself, of course, get access to some other things, recordings, all that good stuff. You can upgrade, and you can see those opportunities at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/summit. And there's going to be a heck of a lot of community members there joining you. So it's going to be a great party like it was last year, and maybe even
Michael,
better.
you forgot to tell them about the early bird, man. The early bird on what is it? It's free all the time, but don't you have an early bird?
Yeah, there is early bird pricing right now, and so that probably is going to be ending pretty quickly. But you can get in and get the very best deal right now. So get it before it's gone, type of thing. And thanks for bringing that up, Louie. I forgot about that piece.
It's the most important.
I want everybody
part.
to attend, and I think the key thing is if you've never been and you're not sure, well, it's free, so you're going to love it. And it's free, but as well, if you want to get access to recordings, if you want to get access to some other special trainings that we're doing, you can upgrade and get into that. And I highly recommend you do. That was another key thing that people said last year is they're like, I wish I would have bought the paid ticket, the VIP, because they came to the free. But what they did is they just bought the VIP when they came to the event after the fact.
Yeah.
But of course, it was more expensive and all that good stuff. But they learn now, and now they're buying them at the very best pricing right now.
No, that's great. So, Michael, the community, Successful Bookkeeper community, I call it communities because we have more than one that is joining us and becoming part of our group. We're doing more than just the Global Summit, right? There's more that we're doing. And I think this would be a great time to let everybody know what's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a lot going on. And I mean, Louie, I'd love for you to talk about some of the relationships that we're building. That's a big piece is we've built a lot of new relationships with some really good organizations that are partnering with us to help us be even better and do great things for our listener and our community members, but also bringing a lot of great value. Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Well, sure. What the organization is doing is basically looking at the Successful Bookkeeper as a group of communities, not just one, but many. And the whole focus of these communities is to bring people together so that they have access to what they need to be successful, to be happy, to interact and engage. And that's the key thing here is one size does not fit all. And that's why we call this Successful Bookkeeper Communities platform or program. And one of the things we've decided to do is also look at partners. And when we talk about partners, Michael, we don't talk about transactional partners. We talk about relationship partners. And all of our listeners here who have a practice, when you have a customer or a client, however you want to call them, what you're really building is a relationship. And that's where the key focus is. So our business model and our model to engage with partners is the same way. So what we've done is when we engage and introduce the community to our partners, it's more of a relationship. What we try to do is allow them to engage in you in more than one way, more than just selling a product or selling a service or selling something, but getting to know them as a company, 360-degree value. And what we found is companies really want you to get to know them. And the reality is, when it comes to professional bookkeepers and accountants and or professional bookkeeping firms or accounting firms that have bookkeeping divisions in them, the reality is that we don't go into technology lightly or change our services lightly because we're professionals. We do our due diligence, our due care, and we take time. And what you want to do is the community that partners up with our community, they will then engage you in a way that you will get to see them more often. The great example is Intuit. They were actually, the funny thing is, Michael, they were like one of the first, I think, to join us.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was interesting because they're so big. You go, but they just love the concept of what we promote, and it meets their mission statement and model to engage their community, and we just align with it well. Another large company that you're quite familiar with is Dext. They used to be called Receipt Banks, but now they're Dext, and they joined in and they loved it. I was talking to their VP, and he says the partnership model that we have, he's trying to emulate it with his other partners. but no one seems to do it as well as we do. So I'm not biased at all, by the way. This is,
yes,
you know.
yes.
So
yes.
these are the partners that we're engaging. We're engaging them in a multifaceted way so that you get to see them not just in one facet. And we then communicate what your needs are back to them. We find out what works and what doesn't work and what helps. Some of them are interested in engaging in our community so that our community can help them build a better product. That's something that's also coming up in the near future. So
yeah,
I hope
cool.
that helps, Michael. I hope that kind of gives a well-rounded,
What I've loved about it is that, we're putting on way more webinars. So we have the successfulbookkeeper.com/events. So if you go there, you'll see what's coming up and also what's happened already. So you can access past events and recordings, some really cool speakers and topics. And we're getting a lot of great feedback from the community as to us providing even more content and information that's valuable to them and meeting and growing their business. And then coming up as well, Louie, is other events. So we do the summit every year. This is year 2 of the Successful Bookkeeper Summit. But next year, let's maybe talk a little bit about the 2023 Tech Showcase that's going to be coming up in
this
2023.
I really like this one. This thing is really interesting to me, the Tech Showcase. And the reason why I'm saying that is I'm not familiar of anything like this that's out there. It might be out there because, there's always someone that's done something. But from my perspective in the market that we're in and the niche group that we're looking at, I think that the Successful Bookkeeper is doing something original. I know I've seen some of this stuff done on the brick and mortar side, but I haven't really seen it done digitally the way you guys are going to set it up. And what I love about this is it's in the world of 5, 10, 15-minute demos, right? Very concise, very specific, so that people can literally look at a product or components of a product or a service and absorb it very effectively. And I just love the whole concept of that. It's also designed specifically for tech, right? It's not going to have anything else but tools and resources and services that you might want to adopt in your practice. So both of those things are unique, and I just love it. I think it's a great idea. Looking forward to it.
I'm really excited about it. The idea is to save our listener time, our community members time, and bring them not only the latest and greatest that's out there in the industry, but actually start to enable conversations to occur around that technology and these partners that is coming from the community. So it's like, okay, well, here's something really cool that's being used, but who are the people that are using it? Like our aim is to be able to make those connections where you can not just see a review or something along those lines, but actually see other people and connect with other people that can give their advice or experience on these different technologies. So again, another community crowdsourced opportunity for our community to get together in a digital way, save a lot of time, get a lot of value, and have fun and enjoyment as well at the same time.
Yeah, as much fun as you can have at a digital event where you have to get tired of, where your brain gets sore and overflowed with information. I get it. It's as much fun as you can.
Try to make some fun. We're trying to make some fun. Make it enjoyable at the very least, right?
Well, actually, let's put it this way. At least they're not working, right? They can focus on working on their business, which I think excites everybody. Honestly, 90%, actually, I'm going to rephrase that, 110% of their time is working in their business. Usually when they come to these events, that's the only time that they actually spend working on their business. So
that's right.
Honestly, even though it's kind of work, but it's stuff that kind of refreshes them. I don't know how many times when I did events, the brick and mortar ones, where people were excited and were re-engaged in building a better practice or going and doing, this is what we're going to do, right? So I think it's fantastic in that. what I really like what we're doing, Michael, and what you're doing and the organization's doing is you're not putting on the same event twice in a year. You have two separate events, right? And when we talked about other things, when you said webinars, we're not just doing webinars. We're doing what we call either product webinars or educational webinars. What's great about our partners, some of our partners are bringing in experts from their network to talk to us, right? So that's another thing that we get access to that normally you wouldn't get access to. So there is so much difference that we're doing that I think is great. And the variety that we are going to develop in the near future will basically impact any part of their business or practice or even personal needs. So one stop, that's what we plan to be.
That's right. Pretty exciting. Yeah. Louie, it's lots of exciting times. I'm glad that we took the time to actually sit down together and talk a little bit about it, share this with our listener. This has been fantastic. I want to thank you for your time to join me in this conversation.
You don't have to thank me. This was fun. Okay. This is, I really enjoyed myself and this was great. Don't be a stranger. Anytime you want to talk to me on your podcast, pick a topic and I'll be there for you.
Absolutely. There'll be lots more of that. And of course, keep an eye open for Louie's Spotlight episodes. They'll be airing on Thursdays. And as well, if you want to connect with Louie, go into the Successful Bookkeeper community on our Facebook group at this time and connect and reach out to him or find him on LinkedIn. We'll have some of those in our show notes as well. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. And don't forget about the summit. You can get there at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/summit. Get registered, and we'll see you there. And until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.